All right, at this time, we'll call to order the City of Kenai Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for March 10th, 2021. Will you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item A2, roll call, please.
Chair Twait,
Here.
Commissioner Springer,
Here.
Commissioner Halstead, absent, Commissioner Doffett,
Here.
Vice Chair Fikes,
Here.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Here.
and Commissioner Woodard.
Here.
All right, you have a quorum.
All right, item A3, agenda approval.
Move to approve the agenda as written.
What's that?
I move to approve the agenda.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any objection? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Item A4, consent agenda. Commissioner Greenberg,
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
any objection? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on down to item C, scheduled public comment. We have none. Item D, unscheduled public comment. Anyone wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move along to item E, consideration of plats. We have, I believe, two of those tonight. Two of those. E1 is Resolution PZ 2021-02, a preliminary subdivision plat of FBO subdivision number 10, submitted by Segasser Surveys, 3485 Roslyn Street, Soldotna, on behalf of the City of Kenai. Staff report.
Good evening, Chair Twait and fellow commissioners. My name is Ryan Foster. I'll be giving the staff presentation on this case, and that's PZ 2021-02 preliminary plat for FBO subdivision number 10. Next slide, please. Back one. Please. So a brief summary, the Kenai City Council adopted Resolution 2020-72, which approved a lease between the City of Kenai and Alaska Air Fuel, Inc. for a period of 45 years, which requires a subdivision. And Segasser Surveys submitted a preliminary plat on behalf of the property owners, which is, at this time, is the City of Kenai. And as you can see here, this is the full parcel that is associated with the Alaska Air Fuel lease, and as you'll see further in the presentation, we'll discuss the subdivision of this parcel. Next slide,
Sorry
please.
about, there's a little window up here. And
Oh.
I can't make it seem to go away. Apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
But, all right.
Seems to be fading away on that one.
That might be-
Also, preliminary plat. This plat affects the parcel described as Lot 5 FBO subdivision number 8 and all of Section 32 Township 5 North, Range 11 West, excluding subdivisions and leased areas in Kenai Municipal Airport Float Plain Basin replat. And so all of Section 32, this proposed Tract B lies northwesterly of the airport runway, is comprised of approximately 280 acres. And then the Tract C lies northeasterly of the airport runway, is comprised of approximately 42.6 acres. And so essentially, the reason that we're sort of drilling down that when the Alaska Air Fuel resolution approving providing them a lease, basically the subdivision triggered that this was actually a much larger parcel. In fact, a very, very large parcel. So it triggered other movements in the subdivision. So next slide, please. But really, this slide is what the focus was, and really the results of what we'd be looking to do for the Alaska Air Fuel lease. And so the city wishes to subdivide Lot 5 FBO subdivision number 8 into two smaller lots, described as Lot 5A and Lot 5B FBO subdivision number 10. Proposed Lot A is comprised of approximately 2.52 acres. And this would be the parcel that would be leased to Alaska Air Fuel Inc. Next slide, please. Staff analysis, access to the proposed lots is provided via North Willow Street, which is a paved city-maintained road. Water and sewer lines are located within the right-of-way of Willow Street. The lessee may connect to water and sewer services there, and an installation agreement is not required. The preliminary plat meets requirements of Kenai Municipal Code Subdivision Design Standards and Kenai Municipal Code 141080, minimum improvements required under Chapter 1410 subdivision regulations. Next slide, please. Recommendations. City staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat of FBO subdivision number 10, subject to the following conditions. There's just one. Further development of the property shall conform to all federal, state of Alaska, and local regulations. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Turn my mic back on. All right, thank you. At this time, we will look for a motion to approve, please. Commissioner Dothett,
I'll go with a motion to approve this.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we will open it up for any discussion, I guess public testimony as well. If anyone from the public would like to testify to PZ 2021-02. Seeing none, we will close public hearing, bring it back to the commission for any discussion. Anyone have any comments or questions? Looks pretty straightforward. All right. Oh, Commissioner Greenberg.
Yeah, I did have a question. When we first looked at this a while back, there was a question of the utility of the remaining parcel, if it could be leasable. And I think that at that point, council member Henry Nackstead was here, and he said it might not be that usable. Is it possible to extend that remaining lot into Tract B to make it more lease-friendly? I guess he said it was fairly narrow. Is that something we could think about in the future? Or?
Chair Twait.
Yep.
Commissioner Greenberg. And so your question is regarding that Lot 5B is, you know, when subdivided, it's the little bit smaller of the two, and your question is on what could potentially be done with that?
Yes. I think the last time we discussed this, that it seemed as though that remaining lot might have been a little small. So is that something that's possible to expand in the future, or something to think about, to make it more leasable?
That's a good question. I would say we do have other similarly sized lots, you know, leased in the airport reserve. And unfortunately, I wasn't here for the conversations earlier regarding that discussion of subdividing this. So I'm not sure if anybody else could shine any additional light on that. I guess there could be that potentiality of Lot 5B and Tract B potentially having a replat done as well. If potentially a lessee was coming forward for Lot 5B and it was, you know, maybe just a little too small, we could look at some type of replat, I would assume.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's just because that's what was part of the discussion when we first saw this.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious too. I thought maybe if there had been some dashed lines in there for proposed subdividing the rest of it to see how maybe he has an idea of how they're going to lay out and he needs that one to be that dimension. But I was kind of curious about that too. But like you said, it's just a matter of another housekeeping task down the line perhaps. So anybody else have any comments? All right, seeing none, we'll please call the roll.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Springer,
Yes.
Chair Twait,
Yes.
Commissioner Dothett,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fikes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Woodard.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we'll move on to item E2, Resolution PZ 2021-07, a preliminary subdivision plat of town site of Kenai 2021 Kenaitze replat submitted by Edge Surveying on behalf of the Kenaitze Indian Tribe. Staff report.
Thank you, Chair Twait. Let me just give Megan a moment. Yeah, this is actually the third presentation. So,
Frozen. All right. You'll be a little friendlier now.
it's this one.
Yeah. Oh, number 7.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chair Twait and fellow members of the commission. This is for PZ 2021-07 preliminary plat, and that's for town site of Kenai 2021 Kenaitze replat. Next slide, please. Quick summary. Edge Survey and Design submitted a preliminary plat on behalf of the property owners. That's Kenaitze Indian Tribe. And you can also see to orient, this is the wellness center in the aerial to the right. The plat affects the parcels described as Tract A and Lot 22A, Block 5, town site of Kenai Kenaitze Addition. Next slide, please. So the preliminary plat, the applicant wishes to vacate the property line between Tract A and Lot 22A1, Block 5, town site of Kenai Kenaitze Addition, which will create a much larger tract to be described as Tract B, Block 5, town site of Kenai 2021 Kenaitze replat. The proposed Tract B, Block 5, will be comprised of approximately 4.68 acres. You can see the preliminary plat here, where it's just a lot line vacation. Next slide, please. So staff's analysis. Access to the proposed Tract B, Block 5 is provided via Overland Avenue, Mission Avenue, and Upland Street, which are paved city-maintained roads. The buildings located on the premises are already connected to city water and sewer services. An installation agreement is not required. The preliminary plat meets requirements of KMC subdivision design standards and KMC 141080 minimum improvements required under Chapter 1410 subdivision regulations. Next slide, please. Recommendations. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat of town site of Kenai 2021 Kenaitze replat, subject to the following conditions, and there's just one. Further development of the property shall conform to all federal, state of Alaska, and local regulations. That concludes my presentation. Happy to stand for questions.
All right, thank you. Can we get a motion? Commissioner Dothett,
Motion to approve?
do we have a second?
Second?
Second. All right, we'll open it up for public testimony. Again, anyone wishing to testify to Resolution PZ 2021-07. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission for discussion. Any discussion?
Looks pretty
Commissioner
straightforward.
Dothett?
Looks pretty straightforward to me.
Okay. All right, looks like that's all we have. Call the roll, please.
Chair Twait,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fikes,
Yes.
Commissioner Springer,
Yes.
and Commissioner Dothett.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item F, public hearings. We have one. F1 is Resolution PZ 2021-05, an application for a conditional use permit for the breeding and sale of dogs for the property described as Lot 4, Block 6, Valhalla Heights Subdivision Part 5, located at 140 Richfield Drive, Kenai. Application submitted by Laura Pabst, 140 Richland Drive. Staff report.
Thank you, Chair Twait and fellow members of the commission. This is Resolution PZ 2021-05, conditional use permit, breeding and sale of dogs at 140 Richmond Drive. Oh, Richfield Drive, thank you. Next slide, please.
Almost there, sorry. One sec.
Thank you. Summary, applicant Laura Pabst, and that's 140 Richfield Drive. It's roughly a half-acre lot size, rural residential is the existing zoning, and currently there's a single-family dwelling unit. The land use plan is identifying this area as suburban residential, and here you can see an aerial of the property, of the subject property. Next slide, please. This is Laura with just a couple of photos. She shows dogs, and so that was the primary driver for submitting this conditional use permit. Next slide, please. So the site plan, this identifies fenced dog yards on the property, and these are all existing improvements and structures on the property. As a part of the conditional use permit, there aren't any proposed new improvements to the property. Next slide, please. So staff analysis. Kenai Municipal Code 1420-150D. There's review criteria for conditional use permits. And we're going to go over those 6 conditions momentarily. Next slide, please. Criteria 1, the use is consistent with the purpose of this chapter and the purposes and intent of the zoning district. And so staff's response is that the proposed commercial kennel meets the intent of the rural residential zone to provide for low-density residential development and outlying in rural areas in a form which creates a stable and attractive residential environment. The land use table provides that commercial kennels are a conditional use for rural residential district. Therefore, a conditional use permit is required. The applicant has provided a site plan that indicates that the outside areas where dogs would be located is completely fenced. The layout of the property is such that a kennel would not violate the neighborhood character of surrounding parcels, as there's sufficient space to accommodate the kennel. Criteria 2, the value of the adjoining property or neighborhood will not be significantly impaired. Staff's response, the surrounding neighborhood is comprised of single-family dwellings and vacant lots. The parcel is surrounded by trees on the south and west boundaries, and Richfield Drive lies to the east of the property. The lots to the south and west of the parcel are currently vacant. The tree line should serve as a buffer for any potential noise from dogs, or at least partially preventing potential noise from dogs outdoors. Criteria 3, the proposed use is in harmony with the comprehensive plan. Staff's response, the comprehensive plan has goals to support businesses and economic development and to provide a high quality of life within the city. The applicant states that the primary purpose for breeding dogs is to improve the breed standard. The sale of any puppies is really secondary to breeding for breed standard and for showing dogs. The applicant stated that she will be occasionally breeding dogs with potential for improving the breed standard, and given that scenario, it's determined that the dog breeding will not impair the quality of life within the neighborhood, in that the intent of breeding and sale of puppies is really secondary activity to breeding for show dogs. Criteria 4, public services and facilities are adequate to serve the proposed use. Staff's response is the properties located along Richfield Drive are served by private wells and septic systems and have access to natural gas, electricity, and telephone services. Richfield Drive is a gravel road which is maintained by the city of Kenai, and the operation of a commercial kennel will not have an impact on these services. Criteria 5, the proposed use will not be harmful to the public safety, health, or welfare. Staff's response is that a commercial kennel will not be harmful to the public safety, health, and welfare. The applicant has provided a site plan that indicates that the outside areas where dogs will be located is completely fenced and that dogs are never left unattended outside. Criteria 6, specific conditions deemed necessary, and I'll go over those conditions along with the recommendations from staff. Next slide, please. City staff find that the applicant meets the criteria for issuance of a conditional use permit as set forth in subsections D1 through D4 of Kenai Municipal Code 1420-185, and hereby recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve the conditional use permit application subject to the following conditions. I believe everybody has these conditions in front of them, either via the staff report or the presentation. I will just highlight one, and that's that prior to operation, the applicant must obtain a commercial kennel license from Animal Control pursuant to Kenai Municipal Code 35107A. Just to note that that's a condition that requires a further action to be associated with the usage of the conditional use permit. That concludes my presentation, and happy to stand for questions.
All right, thank you. Let's get a motion and get started. How about Commissioner Greenberg?
I move to approve PZ 2021-5.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Okay, we'll open it up for public testimony. Anyone wishing to come forward and testify to PZ 2021-05?
I'll just come up if you guys.
Yep, if you come up here, you state your name and address for the record, and then the timer will get started, and you can stand, sit, whatever you want to do.
I'll just stand.
All right, and so
Laura
go ahead.
Pabst, 140 Richfield Drive, Kenai, Alaska.
All right, so you,
Well, I think I gave you guys everything that you needed to know. We show dogs, we go down to Florida, we go into Canada, we go to Washington, we go all over the place. Tennessee is our next trip in October. We do confirmation, obedience, rally, agility, duck diving. We do a lot with our dogs. It was a big family thing to keep my daughter doing something recreational that'll keep her out of trouble, and it certainly did. She's a fabulous, fabulous trainer, and member of the Kenai Kennel Club. I've been a member of the Kenai Kennel Club holding office anywhere from president to a board member consistently since 1980, I want to say 2. It's just dogs are a passion. And the most recent puppy I have is 10 months old. Prior to that, the most recent puppy I have is 4 years old. So it's not that I breed and breed and breed and breed. I breed for myself, and I sell to other people. That almost everything that I sell goes into a show or performance home.
okay. Anybody have any questions? Commissioner Dothett?
With this conditional use, are you intending to increase production of dogs
No.
or just continue on kind of a set forth?
Just like what I'm doing, just a litter here and there, just to, when I find a line that will be compatible to mine, that's when I would breed. We've gone down to Orlando, to the big dog show down there. There's, hundreds and thousands of dogs, and we have taken second place out of all the Rottweilers down there when we went down, and there was 136, I think. And from our little hometown dog, and my hometown bred daughter was handling her against all these professional handlers that's what they do as a living. And There's a dog show that we went to up here that the dog that won breed at Crufts was a Chinese crested, won breed at Crufts, and there was 173 dogs there of just Chinese cresteds that took breed. And about the same time was when Westminster was going, and the female dog that took breed at Westminster, both of those two came up, and the judge that judged at Westminster, and under that judge, we beat both of those dogs. So it's a passion. It's something that we put a lot of time and money into. It's not something that we just pump out puppies because there's a need for them. We do it for a purpose.
Just a real quick question. It might go back to Mr. Foster. Is on this conditional use, is there like a set number, like a limit of so many animals per lot size or anything like that? I just didn't see anything on there.
Chair Tway, Commissioner Douthit, the code does not give a set limit on number of dogs.
Okay, that's just the only question. Thank you.
I don't want a ton of dogs. It's a lot of work.
Okay, that's why I was just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Commissioner Greenberg.
What type of breeds do you have?
I have a Rottweiler and Chinese Cresteds, and a retired Chihuahua.
How many dogs do you expect to have, at max capacity?
Right now I have 7, and that is a lot for me. I want to not get much higher than that because I don't feel like I can give them the attention that they need. 2 of the dogs that I have right now are Chinese Cresteds, powder puffs, and it takes me about 45 minutes to brush each of them each night. And if I don't brush them every night, I've got a matted mess. So and they get baths every single week.
Thank you.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I just had a question for administration. I guess what I was thinking, is there a certain number that trips that you have so many dogs, then you have to get a kennel license? So you can have 1, 2, it's up to 4, and then you're.
I think
blind,
once you
but-
get to 4, you have to, correct?
I
Yeah.
have the kennel license with the city of Kenai.
Yeah, that was.
I know that rule. So I have a question. Can you describe that breed that, I know what a Rottweiler looks like, but the other
can you
one,
go back
small,
to the
medium,
slide?
large? Is it one of those little ones?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They come in, if you have kids, My Little Ponies, that's what the hairless Chinese Cresteds look like. They have, feet. Yeah, they have on their feet, they have on their head, and they have on their tail. The rest of their body is bald or
wow.
sparse coat. And that's my girl that took a best in show up here. There was over 600 dogs at that show.
Gotcha.
Do you have pictures of the Rotties in here?
I put in a lot of pictures and the Rowdies in the, yeah. They were in the packet.
Nice, very nice.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Pabst?
I asked if I could bring one and I was told no.
Darn it, you could have brought one in, yeah. All right, well, I think that's all the questions we have for you. We'll let Animal Control come up and see if they have anything to add.
As far as our end of it, our conditional.
If I can get you to go ahead and just put your name on the record too, please.
Edwin Creekmore. As far as our end of it, her permit with us is conditional upon the approval of this one. As long as this one's approved, she's completely good to go with us. Our inspection went fine. Everything out there was up to par. So,
All right, question.
No complaints or anything of record?
no complaints of record. There were a couple that were lodged, but they were not complaints as much as they were worries that there was gonna be a lot more noise and the property values were gonna drop. Once
No.
everything was explained to them, we've had no complaints on her property at all.
Commissioner Springer, have anything?
Nope.
You're good, okay.
You,
All right.
You guys do like an annual inspection?
Yes, the conditional use is for how long it runs, but we do an annual kennel alert permit every single year. So that is something that's renewed every year, so we do an annual inspection every single year.
What do you look for in that inspection?
We check on the welfare of the animals, the safety of the animals, the conditions they're living in, their conditions of the yard, the fencing, things like that.
Thank you.
I had a question for you. On those lines, there was nothing in code that said specifically a half acre, quarter acre can have so many. But as you guys are checking for conditions as well, is there a size like 5 to 1,000 square foot home or?
There's not per se a size. It's basically what room you have is enough room for the animals to be able to move. Like, a lot of people keep their animals kenneled, and as long as the animal has enough room to stand up, turn around, lay down, and move a little bit while they're in the kennel, that's fine. So it kind of determines, the amount of animals is kind of subjective to in that respect.
Yeah, I was just curious. We have a tiny little house, but you decide to have 10 St.
Right.
Bernards. Sorry, I was off mic. Yeah, I was just concerned to the size of the animal to the size of the
And
house.
that's taken into consideration when we go out and do our inspection.
Okay.
If it's something like that where you have say a 500 square foot house,
Yeah.
and you have 6 or 7 St. Bernards, that's not enough room for those St. Bernards to live in.
Okay,
And that would be something we would address on that, at that time.
okay.
So we do kind of do it on conditional basis.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, sir.
Can I say one more thing?
Yep, absolutely. If you want to come back up again so we can get you recorded.
I just wanted to say, I respect my neighbors. I don't like going outside and doing yard work or trying to have fun with my family and listening to dogs bark nonstop. My dogs are never outside unattended. If I'm not home, they are never outside, ever, because then I can't control the barking, and I don't want to be a nuisance to my neighbors.
Very good.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right, seeing no one else, nobody online to testify, we will close the public hearing then and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Any discussion or questions of staff? Commissioner Greenberg, no?
I just had a note that Councilman Glendenning said it's just a spelling error in the description for profit. Yeah, but these are special dogs, but that's probably not how you spell it. So,
Chair Twait, Commissioner Greenberg. Just to clarify, staff's process for developing the staff reports is that when providing the applicant's response, the time to time we do find sometimes typos and potentially maybe a spelling error here and there. Staff will keep that in place, and the reason is we don't. These are the applicant's words, the applicant's, statements on their case. And so as long as it's something that isn't maybe being confusing or impacting the understanding of it, we just leave it in there. And again, because here's the thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to go in and tinker with words of what the applicant said, because then we're going ahead and sort of potentially we're no longer representing the staff's analysis, but now we're starting to change around what the applicant would be saying. So I just want to be clear on that's just kind of our process. And certainly if there is a time where we might need to contact an applicant back to be like, hey, could you make this correction or resubmit it, we would ask them to do that. But other than that, we really just try and keep it exactly as the applicant's application came into us.
sure, I think that makes a lot of sense. But just to clarify for everybody, I guess it would be spelled with an F.
Thank you, teacher.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Springer,
Yes.
Commissioner Dothett,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Chair Twait,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fikes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Greenberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so there is a 15-day appeal period that an affected party could file. If no one files one in those 15 days, then your permit will be granted and you can carry on. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Item G, unfinished business. H, new business. I, pending items. We have none. Takes us to item J, reports. J1, City Council. Councilman Glenn Denning.
Thank you, Chairman Twait. I have the action agendas from the council meetings that have not been reported yet. Looking at February 3rd, I won't hit everyone. I'll just touch the important ones, at least as I think. We acted unanimously in ordinance amending Kenai Municipal Code citation procedure and Kenai Municipal Code minor offense fine schedule to incorporate various animal offenses into the minor offense fine schedule and make other housekeeping changes. As I recall, one fallout from this ordinance is that you folks won't be asked to adjudicate animals and their condition on a property anymore. It'll be handled administratively. So that'll save you some effort in the future. We adopted unanimously designating the investment and investment plan for the city's permanent funds and establishing appropriate benchmarks to measure performance for calendar 2021. The city has a permanent fund. The monies that come in, say, from sale of airport land or municipal lands go into their designated sub-accounts. And of course, these monies cannot be taken, the principal cannot be taken, but the profit, the earnings from this is disseminated into the general fund, generally for the purpose of the entity. In the case of the airport, it goes to airport purposes. So all they did was our investment counselor came by and reviewed, as they do every year, the outlook for the economy in the coming years and the balance and emphasis of our investments. We're not quite like the Alaska Permanent Fund, but we are constructed similarly, and we so far have gotten a good return. It's invested conservatively, but we are having a good return, and of course that in turn relieves quite a bit of burden for the taxpayer to support, say, this building. We adopted a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an amended concession agreement with the Upper Deck Lounge. What has happened is that with the COVID event and the bankruptcy of Raven, there was for a while no air traffic except de minimis from Grant, and it was actually not enough to allow him to service the obligation to the city for the lease of that area. So we amended that. I don't have the details in front of me, but we forbearance, I guess, is the best word to use. And then we adopted the City of Kenai's capital improvement land improvement priority list for state funding for the fiscal year 2022, and number one, and perhaps the only viable one, is the bluff erosion project. We're looking for I think $5 million from the state to help us with this major project that we've invested so much time in, and actually municipal money. Going to February 17th, on a public hearing, we enacted an ordinance increasing estimated revenues to the general fund to provide assistance to Kenai residents impacted by COVID-19 public health emergency with the purchase of groceries and necessary household goods in the city of Kenai, and we awarded a contract to the Chamber of Commerce to administer this. I found out, well, Friday that this program was overwhelmingly accepted, embraced, and of course accessed by the members of our community and the surrounding community. It was a sum of $200,000, and we blew through that in about 10 days. And so, of course, folks are disappointed. It was stated that we'd run till the funds run out, but I see on the preliminary agenda that there's the prospect that we may be able to pump some more funds into it, at least not with the goal of not disappointing those people who gathered their receipts in good faith, thinking that they had until the end of next month to submit them. So stay tuned. Well, we'll stay tuned. I'm counting votes, and I know most people will be happy based on the volume of phone calls that I'm getting. We amended the Kenai Municipal Code business hours, work hours to allow alternate work schedules in the police department. This primarily impacted the dispatch group, but what it does is it allows the police chief to maneuver the scheduling for his department to more realistically reflect the demands of time upon the officers, and the hours are not diminished. It's just perhaps a little more flex time, or how the duties can be assigned. We enacted an ordinance increasing the revenues and appropriations in the water and sewer special revenue fund. We're going to replace a sludge press. We had a sludge press that's been there for 40-some years, and you can imagine what comes out of the sewer line. And there's paper and stuff, and you gotta compress it down and get rid of the water and such. Well, the one we have is worn out, so we're gonna go to a more modern design. Actually, it's like a tumbler or a screw. It rotates and slings the water out, and it's more efficient actually in its water removal. We are charged by the weight when we take it to our disposal location. So this not only will allow us to dispose of our sludge cheaper, it also will run less expensively. It won't be requiring as much maintenance, and the power cost will be less. And we increased the revenues and appropriations to Public Safety Project Fund to provide funding for the Fire Department Stations Alerting Project, authorizing a purchase order for Kachemak Electric. What this does is it actually allows dispatch and others that would be able to view the doors. One example, as trucks leave, they can raise and lower them, and the trucks will be able to move more efficiently and know that their facility is secure when they do leave. Oh, this is important. We increased estimated revenues and appropriations in the general fund, authorizing a grant disbursement program for small businesses that did not previously apply for full assistance from the city in 2020. We had a program that would allocate funds for small businesses who met certain criteria, and a lot of them didn't apply because maybe they thought they'd make it, or maybe they didn't understand the program, or just because. So we reopened that up, and we're getting response from it now. Just a look back to make sure that all our small businesses that require and require assistance and qualify are taken care of. We awarded professional service contract at the airport for airport security guard services, and we extended our disaster emergency declaration for another month, and that was as of February 17th. What this does is it gives temporary leave to employees to address COVID-19 illnesses, emergency closures of facilities, and transmission reduction. There was a city moratorium on penalty and interest for water and sewer accounts, and a city moratorium on water and sewer disconnect for non-payment. Currently on our next agenda, we will be addressing that situation separately from the emergency resolution. And what we can see is that the end of the COVID emergency it's winding down. We may go one more time. We may just have a truncated version of it, but today I believe the governor said, you know, anybody over 16 can get their shots, get their jabs, and I think that will give everybody confidence that we can step out in full faith that we're not contaminating one another and all types of horrid things that can happen with a disease of this magnitude. And so, of course, as a practical matter, you folks that are in the commission here, at some point in time, we will go back to regular order regarding attendance requirements. And in itself, it's quite generous, and it goes a calendar year. So whenever that occurs, any attendance irregularities that would be recognized under a policy won't be a detriment to someone should they decide to take a vacation or find that they can't make it or have an illness or something like that. We're going to be fairly open and favorable about it, but it's so important that you guys come here. It's a duty and an obligation, and actually a commitment to the citizens of this committee, especially on planning and zoning. Planning and zoning and city councils are the two items that are mentioned in the Title 29 of the Statehood Act, instructing municipalities how to conduct public business. So I think we'll all agree if we're here, we have better discussions, and the people testifying have a little confidence that their ideas are being heard. We appointed Gwen, but it says Woodard here. It's Glenn Woodard? Woodard, not Woodward. Okay, I got it right. I think I almost got it right. To join us on planning and zoning, and welcome, Gwen. And we appointed Barbara Rowland to the beautification committee. And we approved, as written, a letter supporting the bluff erosion project funding, and this went to our politicians in Washington, D.C. And then one last meeting. This is from March the 3rd, and I'll just go from the agenda here. There was an ordinance increasing revenues and appropriations to Parks and Rec for the multipurpose facility management for Redline Sports for additional ice maintenance services. What we did is throughout this winter, we actually had our hockey rink open quite a bit where others were perhaps shut down. Well, the reality of it is that it's an outdoor rink with wind walls, and so we're able to accommodate any COVID sensitivities and have largely a full-on program for young skaters. And I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from hockey families regarding this, and it's noted in the paper, and my phone calls reflect the happiness that they have with our posture on this. We accepted a grant increase from the Department of Alaska Health and Social Services for transportation and support services. A grant from the Treasury passed through the state for the senior center's response to the COVID-19 public health emergency. There were so many people in the area that we serve that had difficulties getting groceries, food, and so what we did is we found there was a greater need than forecast, and we were able to accept this grant to help fund our efforts. There was a well house that was damaged in the earthquake, and we accept some insurance proceeds to take the well house. We're going to move it over by where the municipal source water facility is, and we'll use that building for storage. The well casing and the well itself, the well bore, will be abandoned in place, and it wasn't a very productive well anyway, so the net effect is that we'll just have a little less maintenance on that area, on that building. I believe the property is leased, and I'm not sure the disposition of that to be revealed. We authorized a professional engineering agreement for the wastewater plants, Kenai Water, Sewer, and Wastewater, SCADA supervised control and data acquisition system. What it is, these are the controls that can actually control pumps on and off. They can control valves that monitor or adjust flow, and will let the operators be a little more efficient in their movement. In other words, they can be working on a project that might require their attention, and have an iPad or someone watching their area for them, and be able to determine the condition and efficiency of it. It still requires operators to go around and look for leaks and stuff, but this also will allow the Public Works Director to maybe sit in his desk as a cup of coffee on there and fire it up and see what his domain is, and then actively interact with the morning report, and it'll be more efficient that way too. We're going to buy a passenger van for the senior center. We have a State of Alaska equipment fleet contract. What's going to happen, this van's going to replace 3 older vans, and so we'll have an efficiency there. The van will be used for a certain amount of time, and then it can be redirected to another department. It'll be a more efficient use of our transportation, or of our money for vehicles, and we see that there will be an ultimate savings in this. Let's see, and we requested the U.S. Secretary of Commerce to veto the North American Fishery Management Council adoptions of measures that will close commercial salmon fishing in the Cook Inlet Exclusive Economic Zone. That's, I don't know. They talk about the rip in the center of the inlet, and this is the area south of Callaghan, going towards Homer, and that's actually in federal waters. And it wasn't until the Magnuson-Stevens Act that it was managed by the state, and now it's federal. And the way it's was proposed and passed is that the unfortunate outcome of it is that we could lose access, our fishing fleet could lose access to that really lucrative area of the inlet. So it's going to go to Washington D.C. and we'll see what happens there. Where it's not a good thing. We became a state because we didn't want federal intervention, and we have it now again. So this fish wars are brutal, and I know just enough about it to be dangerous, so I'm not going to comment anymore. But if you have fishing friends, maybe they'll bend your ear on it. And we are going to, let's see, we have for new business coming up, we're going to look at remote electronic participation in council meetings by city members and the public. And we talked about it for some time. And, rather than give everybody, a Zoom account and iPads, we'll probably just add another camera in here. So people that choose to look in on their own devices will have access to a better view of the room. And of course, the telephonic participation is always in order. We're just updating it to current technical standards. And I think that does it. And so the alarm just went off, and we can go on.
That's what we get for not having a couple of meetings. We get the long version.
I know. It's
I'm sure we got some questions.
okay.
Looks like Vice Chair Fikes can start it off.
So don't these cameras record onto like YouTube or our own channel?
Yeah, it's being live streamed on YouTube, so they
Sure.
can see it. It's just not hooked up to our Zoom account, so. I think I
Oh.
on that right now, I believe.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, it'll just give a little more.
It's a little bit like the Zapruder film or whatever. The Zapruder
I
one.
see,
It's a
live
little
versus
grainy.
going back and watching it at your leisure.
Yeah,
I see what
I'm
you're
running
saying.
out of places to hide. I'm usually here at the little kids' table, so.
And then you mentioned the airport. Now, did I hear you say actual guards are gonna be there?
Oh, this just a security service? We have.
So are you talking TSA at our Kenai
No,
Airport?
the security service that we have, like Guardian comes through and they rattle the doors and look, and
Oh, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
gonna see
yeah.
somebody sleeping in the corner in
It's-
a uniform or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
they-
not the U.S. Capitol.
Hey, I'm only asking about the TSA, cause you do not wanna know all the stuff that we have to do, so that's why I was like, if there's gonna
No,
be
it's-
somebody there, I wanna
Yeah,
know.
no, it's not gonna get any better, but no barbed wire and fencing around it.
Yeah,
We just
if
have
we
our
can
own.
just keep the
our own-
TSA
our own-
away,
Yeah,
that
our
would
own
be good.
guards and we just, just fire watch basically is what it is, so.
Anyone else? I got a question regarding the water and sewer moratorium, or however that is. How many people does that take into account? And once that's lifted, is there going to be a repayment plan to get people back up to speed, or are they going to have to lump sum that?
No, the answer is 29, and what we will do is that the way it was pitched, it hasn't been totally rolled out yet, but in theme and theory, we will have folks that will, when this moratorium passes, and it will, they will be required to start making payments, to be current, and then within a period of time, I've heard as long as 5 years, they can have to make their payments up. So it won't be a severe economic dislocation. We don't want to shut people's water off.
I mean, it's certainly not thousands of dollars, but is that something that could just be a city assessment on their property to collect it
Oh,
that way if
yeah,
need be,
yeah.
if it got to that?
That's true. Like if they owed money and left, the bill would run with the land. It would attach
Yeah.
to the property. And one idea, and I think it'll be in the contract, is that there'll be a confession of judgment. So if they do default, then there'll be some source, of reimbursement for the city. And of course, there's always the old standby is the permanent fund. We can, we can, have them, pay part of it or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a means of trying to be fair and forward-leaning, and it's tough times, and maybe for a while, but it's time that we start recognizing the situation, and I think today we heard that the feds are gonna send $1,400 to a lot of folks anyway, and so maybe that'll help with the sewer payments. So.
All right, we will move on to J2 Borough Planning. Vice Chair Fikes.
Alrighty, it has been a while. We had a borough meeting on February 8th, and we had on our docket a building setback in the Sterling area for a one-story house. And it was impacting their septic vent and tank. They were both showing in the setback, and so the applicant was asking for assistance, and so it was approved. And then we moved on to a vacation of a right-of-way in the Nikiski area, and that was put out by the state of Alaska. They had the final approval. We passed it on to the assembly with a recommendation to approve it. We had a resolution for a previous vacation of a 66-foot wide section line easement, and that one was approved, and that was in the Questwood Estates area. Then we had a conditional use permit to construct a 22.5 by 34-foot structure within the Habitat Protection District in the Poacher's Cove planned urban development, and that one was approved. Had input from the River Center and quite a few folks on that one, and so that one was actually approved. And we had a transfer of assets from the Ninilchik Emergency Services to the borough on behalf of their new expanded area out there. And so we gave approval of that to assist with their fire and EMS services. And then we had 4 plats that we reviewed and approved. And then we had some discussion of new business on the upcoming land sale and inventory that's going to be reviewed for May 21st. Is when the land sale will take place for the borough, so if anybody's interested, you'll be wanting to keep a heads up for that coming up soon. And then we had some help from the 911 dispatch operators to work on and update our GIS department. So that was hugely helpful to have that kind of skill set and background to put in some time with the GIS department. That was greatly appreciated with those folks. And then we went on February 22nd, and we had a vacation of a portion of a utility in the Hope area, and that one was approved. Let's see, they were trying to move their cabin and they wanted to build a larger home, and part of it was sitting in the utility by about 5 feet. And of course, they didn't realize that at the time the cabin was constructed, so now they want to do the house, and so they got that all cleaned up and squared away. And then we had a vacation of a utility, and that one got approved. And then we had a conditional use for Hillcorp for material extraction in a remote area that was already under contract ownership for Hillcorp. No other surrounding areas of impact, and so that was approved. And then we had an appropriation of funds for the Eagle View Company for imagery and GIS updates for lots and structures, so that was a huge to-do. And then that was supposed to be a multi-year contract, is my understanding. And so that's going to greatly help anybody who participates in going to the borough website and you're looking at a parcel viewer. This is going to bring that up to date and clean it up. So that'll be a huge plus for our area. And then we had an ordinance to repeal a lease of space at the River Center with the state of Alaska Fish and Game. No longer needing that, I guess, so that was approved. And we had a management trails agreement with Snowmads for the Salteshi area trails, I believe. Yeah, I think that's what that one was. And then we had 5 plats that we reviewed and approved, and then we were looking at a name change to move on to administration and do some research and bring it back to the commission. So that was passed. And we are still waiting on training to use the borough chambers. They're having some technical difficulties with the new voting system. So it's not enough to just push your mic. Now we're gonna have these really cool little buttons like the legislatures have, I guess. So they haven't quite got that squared in because all of it's gonna be tied in with our little iPad screens in front of us, and so apparently, according to them, I actually went in and talked to them because I was anxious to get back into chambers, but they're not quite ready for us to get back in because of the technical difficulties. They're still working the bugs out on the dais for the equipment and stuff. So the assembly is actively meeting and they are encountering issues, and so they're dealing with them on a day-to-day basis for the assembly, but they're not able to quite have everybody back in chambers at the moment, but they are certainly ready and desiring to do so, but recognize that there's a lot of folks out there in some far-flung places and roadways that we just may be having to settle into a hybrid type of system, that those are on the road and those can do it and can buckle down and get in, will get in, and those in Soldovia and Seward and other further out places may not be represented, or they may not be coming in. They haven't decided yet. And what else do we have? Oh, we had our right-of-way vacation on Caribou Island got vetoed by the Assembly. So apparently the spot that they wanted to vacate so that everybody could have access to land their boats on or whatever, I guess that got vetoed. And then the 911 lease space in the River Center was approved, so you're going to have a 911 dispatcher inside the River Center. I guess they're going to be utilizing some space over there. I'm not sure what they're doing. I wasn't told. And Avery Harrison is going to be our new land manager, administrative assistant. He came over from the 911 department, so that'll be a huge asset for the area, so that was a big win-win. And they were telling us that we got 1 meter resolution 2020 imagery. Gary could probably tell you more about that. I was lost on the technicality of it. But apparently it's really good stuff, that we can actually see where the eagles are and where the little eaglets are, if you zoom in. And then our next one is gonna be Monday, Monday, March 15th, so. We are having our, work groups come back around and meet, and some of those are the material site extraction committees, and also Robert Ruffner is heading up the Anadromous Streams Habitat Protection District, and so that was, fired up. He was not there last time, now I remember, which is why we didn't discuss it, so. Monday, I will see how that's moving along, because that'll impact the city of Kenai as far as our location of our dock area. And then also, I will bring it back to the borough to see where we're at as far as representation. We have 13 folks, and they've decided that they're gonna do a swap in, swap out, if you will, so I will see where we're at next. I'm there till the 22nd, 2022, so. December, I think. I'll have to look. No, so I will get an answer for everyone on Monday. I will get some follow-up on what that's looking like, because we're headed in the top of the year. What was decided by the assembly was that we had 13, but again, we weren't having folks show up, or for whatever reason, it got shuffled down to we're only gonna have 9, so they bumped like 2 cities out, and the ones that are sitting out right now, I thought was Soldovia and Ridgeway. So the next rotation, it could be Kenai and Seward, and so goes, so. I agree, so, yeah, I can certainly bring it back to the borough and see what Scott Huff and Charlie Pierce and some others have some thoughts on that. And that's all I have at this time.
All right, anyone have any questions? All right, we will move on to item J3, City Administration. Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Chair Twait and fellow commissioners. Staff has received a plat for consideration for March 24th meeting. And that's everything, everything I have to report.
That's how you do it, Mr. Glendenning. Short and sweet.
Hey, if you guys would show up, I can burp in Morse code.
He did forget one thing on that last meeting.
Oh, did he?
Wasn't there was an appointment made to the beautification committee.
I thought I mentioned, was there 2? I missed the second one then.
Sarah Doff.
Oh, there's Sarah. See? Yes, I jollipize because I reckon we're over at the Chamber of Commerce, and I pointed it out. Okay, yeah.
Giving him time to think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I don't have Biden moments often, but I just went through and marked it. Oh, and I was reading off of action menus, and this one was just the last one was just my packet, and it didn't have the name on my version of it, so.
We'll have to see how that knocking on the door to see if you can put an re-election sign in the driveway works when you.
Wait till the snow melts.
All right, we'll move on then to additional public comments. We had the council comments again. I think anyone else have anything?
No.
Thank you. All right, informational items. We just have our meeting on March 24th. Commissioners' comments and questions. We'll start with Commissioner Greenberg.
I'd just like to welcome Commissioner Woodard.
All right. You can tell it's spring because Commissioner Springer has shaved that beard. Commissioner Springer, how are you?
I'm good. I would have been there tonight in person, but I did recently come down with a cold. It's not COVID or anything, but I didn't want to subject anybody to the possibility of getting it. So that's why I was on the Zoom.
Greatly appreciated.
So,
All
I
right,
have
we will
no
ask
comment.
our new commissioner, Commissioner Woodard, if you have anything to say.
Nothing really, other than I'm here to learn. I really don't know anything about this. I just volunteered, and here I am. So I'm.
Common sense will go a long ways.
Any help you want to give me, I'll take.
Absolutely, and like I said, common sense will take you a long way on it, and we'll help you if we have to.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Dothett.
All good.
All right, Vice Chair Fikes.
It is that month again, March, 5th March, so everybody remember your PFD applications. Don't be that one that forgets. And then also we have financial disclosures that are due soon. Other than that, all good.
See, you took care of that. I was going to do the APOC thing, but you're the bearer of bad news and the good news one. So, all right. I guess business completed. The meeting is adjourned.